What is up, everyone? Welcome in. This is the Edge DFS. We are talking Showdown as usual. My name is Tyson Smith, joined by Ellie Hernandez. Ellie, what's up, man? Saturday morning, afternoon, how you doing?
Pretty good, man. Just waking up still. Saturday is my one last day left to sleep, so excited to be starting the day off with NFL because that's what it's going to be for the next 4 months now.
Exactly. So we're going to be coming to you with Thursday night, Sunday night, and Monday night games throughout the year. So hit that subscribe button, like this video, hit us up in the chat. Our Discord, you can join that. That's free.
Exciting matchup. Exciting matchup.
Yeah, not so much. I'm excited to see the Rams play with Stafford.
Yeah.
Even I'm a Cardinals fan, but I'm still excited to see the Rams play because I think they're going to be pretty good this year. I'm excited to see Stafford actually play on a real team.
Yeah.
And I kind of wish him some success. Hopefully not too much success. The Bears this year, I mean, come on. Just start Justin Fields.
Yeah, I agree. I think they're just looking for excuses to get him in there. I mean, God, Andy Dalton, there's literally no negative to starting Justin Fields other than potential injury, right? Like, I don't understand what they're doing. And Matt Nagy's going to get himself fired before he even gets an opportunity to run Justin Fields.
All right, before we get into this matchup, we got to talk a little bit about Thursday Night Football. And boy.
You son of a bitch.
I don't know what to do with him. I just don't know what to do. Like,
well, as soon as you bench him.
As soon as I bench him, this is how I feel. This is how I feel with him. As soon as I bench him, he's going to have a 4-touchdown game. And then I'm going to roster him, and then he's going to have a negative 6-point outing. This is how I feel about him.
I wish I knew how to quit you.
I don't know, man. What do we do with Ronald Jones the second?
Well, because I have enough best ball exposure, we just gotta keep playing him. No, maybe hedge best ball by never playing him ever again. But I don't know, man. It's a Bruce Arians offense. It's gonna be Lenny this week, and next week it's going to be Lenny fumbling. I mean, that could have gone either way. I mean, the dude still tipped a ball and caused an interception. He just decided to stay with Lenny.
Yeah, he just decided to stay with him. I don't understand. They both messed up. We all know who the favorite is. It's Fournette. And
yep.
If they equal,
I was dead wrong the other night about Ronald Jones being the guy that Bruce Arians like. I thought that's where he was going, man.
Me too. If they evenly suck, it's going to go to Fournette. We know that now. We know that now. But, me saying that, we're going to be wrong the next game. Ronald Jones is going to get 27 carries for 4 touchdowns in the next game. It's just random. It's like a dice game.
So did you see who the optimal captain was in the Millie?
No.
Yeah, tight ends. Gronk, bro.
Oh, really? I thought it would be Amari Cooper.
No, it ended up being Gronk because he was so cheap that you were able to get Amari, CD, Dak. I'll have to look at it again, see if I can get the lineup, but it was pretty crazy, man.
I went heavy on.
Of course. Go ahead.
I went heavy on the backup tight ends for Tampa Bay, and that didn't work out very well at all. They didn't even see a target.
Yeah, no.
I don't even think O.J. Howard saw the field, to be honest.
No, Cameron Brate was out there. I mean, I got the part right about the multiple tight end sets. It didn't fucking throw it. Like, to be fair, like Gronk looked like he was 26. Like, what's going on, man? Maybe that's why Tom Brady left New England, was so that his team doctors could treat the team. He's found the fountain of youth and is getting these people to be okay. So, I don't know, man. Maybe that's what's going on here.
Must be. All right, let's get into this matchup. All right, so Chicago is going into LA. They're going to have a crowd for the first time in that stadium, so that'll be interesting. But this is, I actually agree with the numbers on this. The -9.5 for Thursday Night Football, I was a A little surprised by that. I think this is going to be a blowout. I don't see how it can't be a blowout, right? I mean, -8, the Rams are favorites here. You have Chicago with the 19-point total, implied total, which is the second worst on the entire slate for the whole weekend, basically. So does Vegas have this right? And what are your thoughts on this? Is there any chance that Chicago can keep this a little bit closer?
Yeah, if they play Justin Fields. Other than that, I don't think so. I think this is pretty close to accurate. I mean, I would say the win probability should probably be even higher on the Rams' favor. I mean, the Rams were good with Jared Goff. They're getting a massive upgrade at quarterbacks. So, I don't know that Chicago has the defense anymore to kind of hang with Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp. Yeah. And let's not pretend this is midseason, right? Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods are healthy. They should be healthy. They haven't played at all. So I think this is maybe generous to Chicago, if anything. I mean, it is a professional team, though, and anything over a 7-point spread is something to keep an eye on. So when you, I don't know, but
when you look at this,
I still see this closer to 10.
Yeah. When you look at this, without looking at salary, without looking at, players that you like from the Rams, what are you likely to do here when it comes to your stacks? Are you going 4-2s? Are you going any 5-1s? How can you get different? Because everybody's going to pile up on the Rams this game.
Yeah, I think you got to look at fading somebody. I mean, I think you're just going to have to probably get rid of one of the quarterbacks. But I don't know, man. We're going to have to dive into it because there's just nobody I really want to play other than maybe one of the wide receivers from the Rams side. So I really don't know, man. We're going to have to dive into it and kind of see where we're going to have opportunities to get different.
You got an upset kid back there.
Yeah, I know. I'm going to go throw on some Paw Patrol. You want to cover me for a second?
Yeah, I got it. Go ahead, dude. All right, so let's get into the injuries here. Not a whole lot to talk about on the injury side of things. I don't know if you guys can read that. Sorry, I'll make that bigger next time. But we got Darnell Mooney, who was in practice. He is questionable right now, but he did have a full practice on Friday. So to me, that's a good sign for Mooney. I like Mooney in this game. I think last year he had a pretty decent year. And I think this year he's actually going to step up, especially with everyone paying attention to Allen Robinson. I mean, it's an obvious... Allen Robinson is the best player on the Bears. That's not some sort of controversial statement. That's easy. So they're going to treat it that way. I think Mooney can really benefit from that. So Ellie, we were just talking about how Mooney was questionable and he was full practice on Friday. I think that's a good sign, and I think that Mooney is safe to sort of start building your lineups with if you're wanting to build a little early. But obviously, stay tuned with information on Twitter and everything about Mooney's status. So thoughts on that, Ellie? And I don't think there's not really any other injuries to talk about. So what do you think about Mooney?
Yeah, I love Mooney. I mean, I think I think he's finally gonna be in an opportunity to have that number 2 role if he stays healthy. I think the Bears offense does have some potential. I mean, Andy Dalton isn't a terrible quarterback. We all know that he can throw for 300 yards and a couple touchdowns. So I definitely think that they have the talent opposite Allen Robinson to have another 1,000-yard receiver. And that's what I think Darnell Mooney is capable of. And it's week 1. I know that the Q tag there is scary, but they had a full bye week between preseason and this, so he practiced fine, yesterday or the day before. I definitely think he's going to be able to play, and I think he's going to be a solid option, especially at his pricing.
So stay tuned, guys. We're obviously going to break down each position here today. We're going to give you our fades, our favorite tournament captain, and then we're going to build some lineups together. But also, there's a couple of guys that I'm targeting on that are probably going to go under the radar this week and are a little bit cheaper. So stay tuned for that when we get to the breakdown. But let me just ask you this, Ellie. Do you think that Andy Dalton and this year's Bears team are any better than the Cowboys last year that Andy Dalton played for? I mean, you could argue that it's the same exact situation and they're going to be absolutely terrible again. So why even give Andy Dalton a chance this year? I don't understand.
Justin Fields is still a little green, man. I mean, I think that's one of the things that comes with the Ohio State. One of the problems with getting quarterbacks from schools like that is they're surrounded by talent. So you have a little bit more difficult time assessing their ability to catch on to the pro game. Now, granted, I'm not an NFL scout, so everything I said could be completely wrong, but it makes sense logically to me, right? Yeah. So, I mean, if you're surrounded by a bunch of first-round picks, it's going to make you look better. So, I think there's a little bit of hesitancy, and we saw Pat Mahomes coming out of college at a Texas Tech. He was really rough around the edges. He took that year and sat behind Alex Smith and was allowed to develop a little bit, and we saw it happen. Now, I'm not saying Justin Fields is Pat Mahomes, but Matt Nagy does understand quarterback and quarterback development. That's why he got hired in the first place. Granted, he took Mitch Trubisky his first stint, so that was dumb.
And that's proving that, he might have messed up Mitch Trubisky.
I think it's the offensive
Mitch is
line.
The
Bears don't have it.
Mitch is going to get another chance somewhere next year.
He will. But, I want to call out their offensive line sucks. Like it has this whole time. And to be fair, they're also treating David Montgomery as, Walter Payton. I mean, they think the dude's Gil Sayers. Like, I just don't understand why he's getting so much love. Like, dude, even in best ball, he was ranked at like, what 22? I'm like, no, bro, I'll take Darren Waller or something. I don't want, no, he's more like 30, 35, but still, like, what the hell?
I don't think I got a single share of Montgomery in best ball, which I'm a little nervous about. I don't love Montgomery this year, but he finished the year off strong. We'll look at his numbers here in a second when we get to the breakdown, but obviously everyone is riding his momentum last year into this year. I don't know if he can replicate that. I just don't.
Yeah, I don't either. And back to the original question about Justin Fields. There's nobody's expecting anything from the Bears. You have a pretty strong division. I mean, the Vikings should be better. The Lions, who knows? Who the hell knows? But the Packers, still better, much better. And I think they want to give Justin Fields a little bit of time to develop. So let him sit behind Andy Dalton. Let him see how bad quarterback play can get you messed up in the NFL, and then they'll throw him in around week 4 or 5, I think.
I'm dying over here. Sorry. All right.
No worries.
Let's just get into the breakdown here. Break it down. All right, guys. So we're going to go position by position here. We're going to talk about everybody. We're going to talk about who your options are for Showdown. Let's start with quarterback. Matt Stafford, 11.6K. This is his first game as a Ram. And you got Dalton at 9.6K? 9.8K. So I'd like to see Dalton a little bit cheaper. I'm not going to be huge on Dalton this week. But, I'd like to see him a little bit cheaper. But then you're getting into that Ben DiNucci range of salary there. All right, so before we even get into Stafford, let's talk about, can you take a flyer on Justin Fields in any of these? If you're doing, 150 lineups or 80 lineups, whatever it is, can you throw a couple with Fields in just in case if Dalton gets benched at halftime?
Yeah, I don't think it's terrible. I think in 150 max, kind of like what we were talking about the other night on the Thursday night slate, Thursday night. You're probably going to have contests again that are pretty massive, with it being the opening Sunday night game. So if you want to take a flyer in one of the 150 max milli makers or whatever they have available and throw Justin Fields in and overall fade Andy Dalton, I don't think it's a terrible idea. I definitely think there's a world in which Justin Fields comes out the second half, or this bad offensive line lets Andy Dalton get hurt or something along those lines, right?
Yeah.
So I definitely think there's some utility in getting some Justin Fields exposure, but if you're submitting one lineup, I don't recommend doing that.
Yeah, for sure. It's just a flyer for sure. Because even if he comes in at halftime, I mean, how effective is he really going to be? All right. Well, let's move over to running back here. I mean, there's really nothing more to talk about at quarterback. I think you play Stafford. The only reason why you might fade Stafford is if this game gets out to it's a blowout in the third quarter, and then they start running the ball a little bit more, and you just simply don't even need Stafford. But even then, you have to figure that Stafford's going to be most likely in the winning lineup if this is really like a 30-point overall for the Rams. If they score 30 points or more, you think you're going to have Stafford. That's my opinion on it. So I'm not going to get too cute with him. I probably won't put him at captain much. because he's going to be 15 to, probably, I don't know, above 15% owned at captain potentially. So I'll find ways to be different in other areas. When it comes to Dalton, I might be heavily under the field. Depends on what his ownership comes in at. If he's around 25% total owned and everyone else is kind of hating on him, I might go heavier on him. I don't know. What do you think about that? I know we were going to move on, but let's talk about the Andy Dalton aspect here. And we got to just wait on ownership, don't we?
Yeah, I'm not too high on Andy Dalton, and what I'm seeing on Roto Grinders, it seems like the rest of the field might be. So just kind of giving my initial looks at this, I'm not going to be high on Andy Dalton, and he always scares me too. Like, and they're projected for 20 points, so that's 2 field goals and 2 extra points and 2 touchdowns. So say David Montgomery gets 1 and. Well, even that. I mean, if Andy Dalton gets both touchdowns, I mean, I still don't know if he's throwing for enough to be in the optimal at that price. So it's going to be difficult, especially considering the Rams have such a strong defensive line. I really don't know, and unless he comes in under 25%, I'm probably not going to have much Andy Dalton at all.
Yeah, I agree with that. All right, running backs. So let's start with the Bears here. All right. So we all know that David Montgomery is sort of the man here, right? So let's look at, he's at 8.4K, which is a pretty decent price for a guy who's probably going to get a decent amount of volume. But you got to think of it this way. David Montgomery, the Bears could be losing by a lot in this game. And just like Zeke Elliott last night or on Thursday night, he might just not even be a factor. But if you look at the end of the season last year, there's a lot of impressive numbers here. There's a lot of impressive numbers. Even when he sort of disappointed slightly to his salary, he still got you a 20-point game. So there's a huge stretch here from week 12 to week 17 where he absolutely crushed. Now, I personally just don't like him that much. I'm biased. So that's one thing. I'm just not going to be heavy on him. I just don't think it. I don't think that it fits the game script. And we always talk about, look, when you're building a lineup, tell a story, have a game script. Don't just randomly put your favorite players in there. Everything's got to correlate based on what you think is going to happen in the game. And I don't think that David Montgomery is going to be in a position to be scoring fantasy points in the second half. I just don't. Now, well, I'll have you talk about Montgomery here in a second, but I'm excited to talk about Damian Williams. All right. So this guy's at 2,200. He sat out all last year. He opted out last year. I believe his mother had stage 4 cancer. He opted out. He just came off of winning a Super Bowl and basically winning it for his team, with the Chiefs. We all kind of forget about that. It's been a full year. And Damian Williams had 9 touchdowns in 2019. He had 5 throughout the regular season. He had 2 in the Super Bowl, and he had 2 other ones in the playoffs. So I personally think that Damian Williams fits the game script for this game particularly. He's going to get some receptions out of the backfield, and he's got fresh legs. I personally really like Damian Williams. I know it's a risk because we don't really know what his role is going to be in this offense. But if the Bears are down by 14 points in the third quarter, they're not going to be running the ball with David Montgomery. So tell me your thoughts on Montgomery. And tell me what you think about Williams.
So I'll stay with David Montgomery. I think he's a fine play. Again, I don't trust this offense up against this defensive front. And I don't know if this is controversial or not, but I think Mitch Trubisky is better than Andy Dalton. So
I agree.
And he has a more physical. He can run, right? He adds a different dimension that kind of frees up some of what David Montgomery is able to do. I mean, maybe I'm biased too. Maybe I need to go watch some more David Montgomery highlights. But he looks like I don't know, man. Like he looks like I don't even have a good analogy. He just looks like a random running back.
It's like a slow Maurice Jones-Drew. I don't know how to describe it. I know he's a little bit taller than that, but I just don't love him.
Yeah, and maybe that's on me. Maybe I need to go back and watch some game film, but I don't think he's going to be that guy. And You still got to go up against Aaron Donald in the middle. This isn't a bad defense. So you have the secondary and Jalen Ramsey on A-Rob, right? So there's going to be opportunities for the Rams to put 7-8 men in the box and not really have to worry about it. And I think that's a bad thing for David Montgomery. Now, the one thing I am seeing is it looks like he was starting to get involved in the passing game a little bit at the end of last year, but I don't know if him and Andy Dalton are going to have that same kind of connection.
So he did have one game where he had 9 targets.
Yeah, which I don't know.
Just crazy.
That sounds like bullshit to me. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I don't know how that happened, but he had 9 targets, 9 receptions for 63 yards. And, he would, throughout the season, maybe he'd get 6 or 5. And look, Tariq Cohen was injured last year, so they didn't really have that kind of third down receiving back to come out. And I think they kind of do with Damian Williams. And I know Tariq Cohen will probably be back in the first 6 weeks or 7 weeks, so we'll see what happens when he comes back. But I don't think they're going to utilize David Montgomery in the pass game. They don't really need to at this point. I could be wrong. He could have 7 receptions in this game. I don't know, but I'm leaning more towards Damian Williams at 2,200. I don't think that Montgomery is going to be able to score multiple touchdowns in this game. He might get 60, 70 yards and a touchdown. I don't know that he makes the optimal at that price tag. I don't know.
All right. So I do have. I'm looking at his ownership projection right now, and he's a little bit lower than I would expect him to be, or kind of maybe at the field. So I decided to look something up. I wanted to see, what his pass blocking grade is, because we're expecting this team to be down. So that could correlate to the reason why he's seeing a little bit more of a target increase, right?
Yeah.
He's seeing the field a little bit more because he's a better pass blocker than what they got. Mm-hmm. He looks like he's, over the past 2 years, he's the second highest rated or third highest rated pass blocker.
Interesting.
So that may give him a little bit more time on the field, and maybe that's why we're starting to see that uptick in reception. So just a little random piece of information, use it how you will, but maybe I can, it'll convince me to come off my bias a little bit more and not, just completely fade him altogether.
What do you see in his ownership around?
Under 40.
Interesting.
Yeah. And I think that's about right, considering this is a 8-9 point spread. So I want to see that come down a little bit more. And I think I might get a little bit more exposure to him, to be honest.
All right. So let's move over. Well, okay. So quickly, what do you think about Damien Williams? Are you considering him, or is it too much of a risk? You are?
Yes, I'm considering him. I love Damian Williams. They only 3 backs, man. I don't even know who Khalil Herbert is. Like, is that Khalil Mack's cousin? Like, like he's just some random guy at $200. He's not going to see any touches. So you're going to split that time with somebody.
All right, so let's move over to the Rams. We got Darrell Henderson, who I just don't love. I just don't love him. Obviously, the Rams traded for Sony Michel. And, I think Michel can get you a couple touchdowns in this game. I just don't know how quickly he's sort of fit into the offense, and how quickly the coaches are going to actually want to plug him in. I think down the road he's going to be the guy who gets most of the touches. But Darrell Henderson versus Sony Michel, I don't like either of these guys this week. And if you have to give me Darrell Henderson at 7,600, I know there's a chance that the Rams are going to be up in this game. So who gets those carries in the third and fourth quarter? Who gets the goal line carries? I don't know.
So we're gonna start the Edge DFS season off correctly. I am gonna correct you on 2 names. It's Darrell Henderson and it's Sonny Michel.
Oh God. Okay.
All right. So now that we've got that out of the way, everyone can find me. Yeah, Sonny, like Big Daddy.
All right. Sorry about that.
No worries. So look, I think given the injury history, like this is simply Baltimore NFC. So given what's going on with their running backs and the injury history that Darrell Henderson and Sonny Michel both have, I definitely think that we're going to end up into a different kind of game script here. I really expect Sean McVay to kind of use the little dink and dunk passes to keep his running backs fresh, right? There's no reason to necessarily pound it when you have a healthy Robert Woods, healthy Cooper Kupp that we're going to get to in a minute here, but I could easily see this being something similar to the Cowboys type game. but instead of going down the field, just shitload of short passes. Like think Ben Roethlisberger with his wide receivers last year. Like they didn't need any running backs because they were just running quick slants for 56 plays out of the game.
Yeah, that was their running offense. Exactly.
Right. So I definitely think that's something to keep in mind here. And now if this ownership stays where it's at for Sonny Michel, then I do think I'll have a little bit of exposure to him. I'm really not interested in Darrell Henderson. He's too high owned. Salary's just awkward for me. And I just don't think he's going to get there. I think this is a Matt Stafford, like 350, 3 touchdowns on 74 attempts type game.
So any thoughts about Jake Funk at $200, just in case maybe Sonny Michel isn't ready to really take on a prominent role? Do you think Jake Funk getting a couple receptions out of the backfield or a couple third down plays? Do you think it's even worth considering at $200? Yeah,
absolutely. At $200, I mean that's if he fails, like he's not going to kill you.
Yeah.
I mean the problem is if you pay $7,600 for Darrell Henderson and he doesn't get there, like your lineup's immediately dead.
Yeah.
But if Jake Funk at $200 does nothing, but you still have Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods with a Matt Stafford stack, then the opportunity cost is much better there. So
let's move over to wide receivers here. So let's start off with the Rams. So Ellie, we got the Woods versus Kupp debate. I think at this point, it's kind of clear that Woods is the number one guy, at least in my opinion. I mean, the stats are pointing that way. Back like 2 years ago, it was kind of a toss-up, but I think now Woods is kind of leading that way, and the ownership is gonna follow in that. Don't you agree?
Yeah, I fully expect the ownership to follow in that, and I think if anybody watched this last season, we were all over Robert Woods pretty much the entire year, and I probably could have said that better, but that's what we were. That's the guy we were on.
Yeah.
I mean, he was crushing, but like, I think this is a good reason to be looking at Cooper Kupp. And I usually fade Cooper Kupp just because Robert Woods has been the guy flying under the radar a little bit, but it looks like people are starting to catch on.
Well, depending on where you're looking, Kupp is actually projected for slightly more fantasy points. We're talking a little bit more. And look, at median projections, it doesn't really matter to me, but it's just interesting to see that those projections are giving him a little bit more credit than Robert Woods would be getting. That's an interesting thing to look at. So we'll talk a little bit more when we're building lineups as to who we want to like jam in. I personally am going to go Robert Woods a little bit more, but it all depends on the ownership. But let's talk about some of these third and fourth string guys. I think you can really cause some damage by picking it right here with Deshaun Jackson at 1,400. I don't love Deshaun Jackson. We don't know what to expect from him. He might not see the field. I think he will though. But I don't think he's going to see it as much as Van Jefferson. I think Van Jefferson is the number 3 based on the research I've been able to pull up. I think everybody agrees that Van Jefferson is most likely going to be that number 3 guy at $800. Van Jefferson to me is really interesting in this game. I think $800 Van Jefferson can score you a touchdown in this game, really pay off. I'd rather take him over Funk for sure. So thoughts on these third and fourth string guys, Tutu Atwell, Van Jefferson, Deshaun Jackson, any interest in those guys?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if we just look at it backwards, I don't know who else they're going to play. I mean, Darrell Henderson can't be out there every play. Now they can Sonny Michel, so that means Jake Funk may get some run. But if they decide to limit one or the running back sets, maybe they try and come 4 wide and a tight end, spread it out. I mean, that means you're going to have Woods, Kupp, Jackson, and Jefferson all on the field at the same time. I don't expect Tutu Atwell to get any run or any of these random guys. So that means they really have 4 wide receivers. So I think this is a great slate to have Woods or Kupp in every single lineup, minimum of one of those guys, right?
Yep.
And then you stacking with the Jackson or Jefferson. And given their ownership, I mean, Deshaun Jackson, you only need to get him once or twice, and Van Jefferson, you can probably get a handful of. I mean, I'm probably going to again looking at Roto Grinders, I'll probably double the field on Van Jefferson just because he's too cheap at $800, and if he gets 15 snaps and 4 targets, he's easily going to pay that off.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Van Jefferson. I think this can be a breakout year for him, especially considering he's got a better quarterback this year. Last year,
who was Matt Stafford's second best wide receiver when they had Calvin Johnson?
Their tight end, maybe.
I'm pretty sure. God, I can't even remember. Was it Bryant Johnson? Like after he left the Cardinals, like
he's been there so long. I don't know. It's a good question. It's a very good question. So Van Jefferson scored 2 touchdowns last year. He had some decent, as a rookie, he did okay. He did okay. And you want to see those numbers because at least he's getting some opportunities. You see a 7-target game, you see an 8-target game towards the end of the season. I think he can step up his game this year and actually get you about 500 yards receiving and maybe 3 or 4 touchdowns this year. So we'll see what happens with him. All right, so Allen Robinson at 10.2K. We all know that he's the favorite here. We all know, everybody in the world knows they're going to try to pass to Allen Robinson. Can they stop him? I feel so bad for Allen Robinson. If he was on a contending team, he would be a household name at this point. But can the Rams stop Robinson? I think they can. So is this an option where we can kind of fade a guy at 10.2K on a team that's probably going to get their ass kicked?
Yeah, I think you can fade A-Rob. I just don't know that I will. It's hard when you're looking at a 20-point total. You got to start figuring out who you're going to allocate those fantasy points to, and at a certain point, like if A-Rob has a touchdown, 40 yards on 4 receptions, he might be the highest scoring Chicago player. It might be necessary for your lineup. Yeah. So those are things that I kind of want to take into consideration for this game. And it looks like last year against Jalen Ramsey, he actually had 11 fantasy points. It was 4 for 40. And again, I don't know that. Or four receptions for 70 yards, right? And I don't know that Andy Dalton is necessarily an upgrade over Mitch Trubisky. So, honestly, that's why I like Darnell Mooney so much, is he's not going to have that Jalen Ramsey matchup. Jalen Ramsey's coming out, week 1, and he wants to lock down one of the top wide receivers in the game. Yeah, because that's what Allen Robinson is. Let's not get that twisted. He's easily top 7. Yeah. I can't make an argument against top 5 either. He's incredible, and when he gets Justin Fields throwing to him, I think we're going to see a different type of offense from this team. So and that's where I'm at with A-Rob. I am going to have exposure, but I definitely think that he is someone that you can think about fading and not punish yourself too much.
I think I'm going to be around the field with him. Maybe a little bit under, but I don't know that I'm going to get a ton of him at captain because his ownership is very high at captain. And I just don't see him having one of these breakout games. I see him maybe catching a touchdown with 4 or 5 receptions. And yet you're right. He could be the highest scoring player on this team, but I think he's coming in at 14 or 15% ownership. And at that point, I'd rather just grab Stafford,
Right. And even then at 10.2K, putting him in a captain, you actually have to punt somewhere. And I don't know if the pricing is tough enough on this to really want to punt too crazy like that. I don't know. We'll see.
I think getting a not to spoil our captain or our lineup builds here, but if you get Robert Woods or Cooper Kupp at captain, you can still build a solid lineup. You really can. Yeah. Just building with them, there's enough value with Van Jefferson, with Damian Williams. There's enough value out there that you can probably be okay with a $8,000 or $9,000 captain. But when you get over that $10,000 point, it makes it a little bit difficult. So Mooney, love Mooney. He's at 5.6K. He is questionable. So maybe he's going to be, he's obviously not going to be 100%. But this is the NFL. Nobody's really 100% ever. So I love Mooney. He's a speedster. He's one of these guys that you could throw in a captain and he can get you, a 70-yard touchdown pass. Look, as well as Marquis Goodwin. Now, when he was on the 49ers, he showed some real big, high-powered play ability. He kind of, I don't know if he was in the doghouse last year or what it was, but he's getting sort of a fresh start here at 4,200. If Mooney doesn't play, Goodwin is a lock for me. What are your thoughts on Goodwin at 4,200? It's a risk. Don't get me wrong. He could see 0 targets, but he's the kind of guy that can do that. You can get that 70-yard touchdown.
Yeah, I think if Mooney's out, he's for sure in play. My only concern is his price. If Mooney is in, 4,200 is not a good price for him with Darnell Mooney playing. If he's out though, Marquis Goodwin does offer a lot of upside, and I honestly, there's a guy, and this might be the old Cardinal in me talking, but Damian Bird, right? Like he was getting some love in the preseason, and Brashad Perriman was just added, so I don't know if he's got Matt Nagy's offense down. So I think Damian Bird would be an interesting play at $200 as well. But again, that's assuming Darnell Mooney's out. Otherwise, it's A-Rob, Darnell, and then Marquis Goodwin, probably in that order.
I think Damian Bird is worth the shot at 200 in a couple lineups for sure.
Yeah,
we saw him in New England, which wasn't a very high-powered offense, but he did okay. He really did okay. And this team is, Andy Dalton is better than Cam Newton when it comes to passing the ball. So I think Andy Dalton's going to throw the ball 45 times in this game at a necessity. Damian Bird can maybe just randomly run into like 4 or 5 of those, and at $200. I think it's worth considering. All right, so Brashad Perriman obviously was released by the Lions. I don't know how you do that. The Lions, can you name the Lions wide receivers off the top of your head? Because it's kind of hard.
Tyrell Williams, Amon-Ra, St. Brown, and then that's it.
That's it, and he still got released. So I don't know what the deal is there. He's on the Chicago Bears now. He's $1,200. I don't know that I'm going to take any flyers on him. If I'm doing 40 lineups, maybe I get one lineup with him in. But that's pretty much it. Anything else to add here with the wide receivers? Who's your favorite overall wide receiver from both teams here?
From both teams, goddamn, probably, I guess Cooper Kupp.
Yeah, it's close. It's either Woods or Kupp.
Yeah.
All right, so let's move over to tight ends here. So Tyler Higbee at 7K. This dude crushed it in 2019. I mean, if you look at his 2019 stats here, there's a ton of green here, man. Look at that. Look at weeks 10 through 17. More specifically, 13 through 17. That is incredible. And then you come to the next season, not so much. Most likely has to do with the Rams sucking ass that year. They weren't very good. Jared Goff wasn't very good. But can Tyler Higbee come back? Historically, Matt Stafford has loved his tight ends, or at least targeted them more often than not. Is he going to be favoring Higbee? Because Higbee is going to, he's at 7K right now. It's going to be kind of hard to get to Higbee, and I think the ownership is going to fall on him because of his price tag. And he is a little bit of a risk. He can get you 2 fantasy points easily, but he's also a guy that can score you 3 touchdowns. We've seen it before. So any thoughts on Higbee with Stafford in LA now?
Yeah, I like Higbee. And even if, again, I don't even need the Stafford narrative or any of that. I just know that it really looks like the Rams are limited on skill players. I mean, and all they really have to play other than Tyler Higbee at the tight end position, Johnny Munt, Jacob Harris, and Bryson Hopkins. Like I've heard of Johnny Munt. The rest of the guys I haven't heard of. So there's just not enough snaps to keep these guys off the field. You're going to have to play Higbee.
Lost Gerald Everett this year, and Gerald Everett's
Seattle.
Gerald Everett's going to tear it up in Seattle this year. I have a feeling. Yeah. And he was. I targeted him so much last year because he's an athletic guy, but now there's nobody really to compete with Higbee. I think he's got a chance. Well,
and all these teams get it. All these tight ends get to play the Cardinals twice a season. So I mean, it's going to make them look awesome.
Exactly.
But yeah, dude, I mean, Tyler Higbee, there's no competition for him. And they have 4, maybe 4.5 wide receivers they can play. They barely have a full running back. Darrell Henderson is still recovering from an injury as well. And didn't he tear his ACL or Achilles or some shit last year too?
Yeah.
It's Sonny Michel is the same thing. These guys are season-long injury type guys, right?
Yeah.
I definitely think you have some opportunity getting to these guys, especially if, I mean, his ownership's projected low right now. And, I think there's ways that you can even throw him in a captain and have money to spend on a whole bunch of different people.
I agree. And like we said earlier, I might just fade the Rams running backs altogether. And when I say fade, I'm going to have a couple shares of each of these guys, but I'm not going to go heavy on them because the Bears defense can stop the run. Bears defense is not a bad defense, but I just don't see the Rams running backs absolutely crushing in this game. And I hope I'm right, but there is a situation where Henderson gets, 20 carries because they're up by 21 points in the fourth quarter. I just don't trust them. That's just me. I like to risk it somewhere else. All right. So the Bears tight ends here. So Cole Kmet is the guy this year. He's at 5,200. Jimmy Graham is, 58 years old, maybe. He's basically like Gronk when it comes to injuries, and he looks like a RoboCop, but he's just not good anymore. So Graham at 4,600. I'm not really interested in him, to be honest. And then you got Jesse James. There's two dudes who in the past have done well, but the only guy I'm going to really consider here is Cole Kmet, in my opinion, because Jimmy Graham at 4,600, I just don't like that. If he was like 1,000, maybe I'd consider him. Thoughts on tight ends for Chicago? I don't know how they're going to handle it. The tight ends for Chicago typically haven't been great recently. So what do you think about Cole Kmet?
Yeah, I love Cole Kmet. I think he's in a great spot. I mean, 5,200 is not too expensive. And of all positions, this might be the one that you can probably leak up the field against the Rams. I think they're going to be focused on A-Rob, David Montgomery, and Darnell Mooney, and it's going to be easy to kind of lose sight of Cole Kmet in his second, so some upside. Again, I love tight ends especially in showdown games. They have Andy Dalton. I just don't know where Andy Dalton's going to go. But when you're trying to find a safety net, it's so easy to hit running backs and tight ends. So, like, being new to this offense, I think there's a good opportunity that he could get comfortable with Cole Kmet and then just dump off a bunch of passes to him, find the red zone once, and all of a sudden he's in the optimal. Yeah,
I hear you, man. So I'm going to avoid. I like Kmet. I'm going to avoid Graham. I mean, Jesse James is a third string tight end. I'm not loving it, but he's $1,000. You got to at least think about him, but I don't think I'm going to get much of him.
For $1,000, I mean, I'm pay 200 less and probably end up with Van Jefferson. That's the only problem.
I agree. Yeah. I agree. All right, so kickers. So when it comes to Chicago, I think you can consider playing the kickers here at 3,200. I don't have faith in
Chicago kickers.
Well, I don't have faith in Chicago kickers, true, but I don't have faith in Andy Dalton, converting in the red zone either. Yeah. So, 3 or 4 30-yard field goals here and there from Santos at 3,200, that's a safe bet. In cash, I think I'm going to plug Santos in my opinion. I don't love kickers typically, and who knows how they're going to perform at the beginning of the year. We saw in that Thursday night game, they weren't too consistent in that game. I don't know if that's first game jitters or if that's just kickers in general. But I don't love kickers, so I'd rather go with somebody else, especially with all the value we have in this game. Are you focused on kickers, or are you kind of like me?
Yeah, no, I don't want any of the kickers. It's Matt Gay maybe, but I think there's other value that's going to be safer to go with. I'm just not interested in it.
So I think you have to consider the Rams defense here at 6,400. I might even get a couple Rams captain defenses here in bigger contests. Mm-hmm. I don't know that I'm going to touch the Bears. I mean, look, the Bears can come out and have a good defensive game. I just don't see it. I don't see it happening. They're the type of team that can score you a defensive touchdown. And this is the kind of game where everyone just dismisses them and then they come out and have like a fumble recovery for a touchdown or something like that. I'm not willing to risk it too much at 4,400. The Rams defense is 6,400. Maybe I'll get a captain line up with them once or twice. Am I off basis here? Like, can you play two of these defensives together? I don't think so, right?
Yeah, I don't want anything to do with Chicago's defense. Total's too high on the Rams side, or the implied total for the Rams is too high.
Yeah.
One thing I want to call back to the offensive line, the Chicago Bears. I mean, Pro Football Focus has them coming in at the 28th worst in the NFL. Is that the right way to say it? Like, they're number 28 in the NFL.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know how you deal with Aaron Donald with all pro linemen. I mean, I've seen him just he gets doubled like 70% of the time. And against a bad offensive line, if you have to double and triple team him, you're going to get torn up. Yeah. So I think you have an opportunity for the Rams defense to end up with 6, 7, 8 sacks, fumble recovery, scoop and score. I love the Rams defense, but they're priced like they probably should be. But these projections, as far as their ownership, that's different. That's crazy. If they're going to be low, then I have no problem.
What are you seeing their ownership around?
15, 16.
Interesting. All right. Well, anything else to add here when it comes to the breakdown? If you had to choose one low price guy to go with, one low price, low owned guy to go with, who would it be?
Right now, it's probably Van Jefferson. Someone's going to have to play offense on this team. I just don't know who it's going to be. So I think it's Van because he's the youngest guy. Deshaun Jackson's just too old. He's out there to run up the field a couple times.
He could end his season in warm-ups, to be honest.
Right.
I think Van Jefferson is number one for me, and then Damian Williams is a 1B to me. Like, they're both very, very good. But the fact that Van Jefferson is $800, he's way cheaper than Williams, I think you got to consider him. So let's move over to our fade of the night here.
What's your name? Tony! Fuck you, Tony!
David Montgomery.
Shocking.
Yeah. We could both epically fail here. But I just don't see it happening. I don't see David Montgomery getting there.
It's not really that bold of a take either. I mean, if we think about it, like it's a 9 point, it's a 9 point spread, right? So at a certain point, you can only run the ball so much. Now, again, the thing to keep in mind here is he does have that pass blocking upside, so that may be a way that he sneaks into a couple extra targets and gets some more run over Damian Williams in the second half when they're trying to play catch up.
Yeah,
but. Other than that, I taking a running back in an implied losing effort is scary.
It totally, especially a guy like David Montgomery. I think he has to
28th offensive line. Like, I mean, come on, dude.
I think he has to have another solid year to prove that he's actually a good player. I legitimately could see him next year. I don't see him like as a starter next year if he doesn't play well this year. I know that sounds terrible. It's a bold take, but I don't like him at all. I really don't. All right, so let's move over to our favorite captain choice for DraftKings. This is for tournaments. Danny Green, talk to me about the Bears.
Now, if you want to crown them, then crown their ass.
Crowning their ass, Ellie, Darnell Mooney, talk to me.
Yeah, man, I think he's priced right. I think he's in the better spot as far as a cornerback matchup. I don't know, man. Somebody's got to do something. Somebody's going to get some volume on that team, and I think it has to go to Darnell Mooney. He's an explosive guy. He has some big play potential as well. He's fast. He's going to line up in the slot. He's going to try and take the top off of the Rams defense at times. And he could get involved in the screen game. Finally, being opposite Allen Robinson is going to open up some opportunity for you just by default. So I think this is Darnell Mooney's opportunity, then his year to prove that he's a number 2 receiver. So I think you can expect big things from him. And at his pricing, it frees up a lot of other builds that I can stack the receivers that I want.
Yeah, I love Mooney. And I honestly think that Mooney at captain, you can do a 3-3 or a 2-4 in this particular matchup. And still do good. You know what I mean? Because I think Mooney can get you 8 or 9 receptions in this particular game. So for me, we got Robert Woods. I just think that Robert Woods is the clear number 1 wide receiver on this team. Obviously, we haven't seen Stafford in this offense yet, so it could be the complete opposite. Cooper Kupp could get you, could literally have 15 receptions in this game. Like, not even kidding. But if I had to choose one with a gun to my head, I'm choosing Robert Woods because we've seen him dominate more recently, and I just have more faith in him. That's just me. And, you know, at $200 more, why not go with Bobby Tree as a captain, right?
Yeah. Yeah, dude, I love Bobby Trees. I think Bobby Trees, Cooper Kupp are both in great spots. And you know, at some point you got to look at the price difference, right? That $200 in such a similar projection. You know, I expect the public or the field to kind of move a little bit more onto Cooper Kupp before the show. You know, before the goddamn. Why can't I think of the game? Right before
the showdown. Yeah.
Yeah, dude, I had a couple of cookies before I came in here. But look, yeah. So speaking of Bobby Trees, no, dude, he's in a good spot. He's going to smash. And let's not pretend like Matt Stafford is the same thing as you know, Jared Goff. Like these guys could just absolutely go off just because they have a good quarterback. They don't even need 14 receptions anymore. You know what I mean? So just something to keep in mind. You could see Matt Stafford go for 350 on a very efficient night. This may not be a Jared Goff 76 attempts. You have a better quarterback, so I think you can just plug these guys in, man. Get as many of them as you can.
I think if you're in a lower entry 20 max, or if you're in, you know, a mini max or something like that, where maybe the competition isn't necessarily as sharp as some of these higher entry tournaments, the optimizers are going to plug in Kupp before they're going to plug in Bobby Trees. So you're just the ownership, in my opinion, that $200 and the projection is about the same. I think that Bobby Trees is going to be a little bit less owned, and I'd rather just take him. Let's get into lineup build. All right. So Ellie, you want to do a cash lineup? Just see what the, you know, more than 24 hours away from this game. Let's just kind of see what the optimizer wants to give us here. So interesting. So we got Stafford at captain. It's a 4-2 with the Rams. You got Mooney and Perriman as your only Chicago players. I don't like the Perriman option in cash here at all. I don't think that's a good option.
I don't like this lineup at all.
I don't like this at all. So let's build a cash lineup. If we're gonna build a cash lineup or kind of a single entry lineup, I usually use my cash lineup with maybe one variation as my single entry. So who should we throw in at captain here for this?
Probably Matt Stafford or
right.
cash.
All right, so let's throw in Stafford. You got to go
Then
Kupp or Robert Woods, right? Or both.
Yeah. Let's start with Kupp since we like Woods for GPP so much.
And then you got to throw in Allen Robinson, don't you?
Yeah.
All right.
I honestly I think we go to Van Jefferson here.
Yeah.
And then I mean, what happens if we throw in Dalton? What does that leave us with?
Let's see what happens here. Yeah, Dalton and Perriman. But I'd rather get I'd honestly, instead of Perriman, I'd rather get Damian Williams.
Yeah.
It's a 4-2 still. So you got Robinson and Williams. This is straight up, you know, behind mode in the fourth quarter for the Bears. This to me is a little bit more of a GPP lineup. I think you can enter this in a GPP, but because you got Van Jefferson and Damian Williams in the same lineup. But
yeah, but I mean, so what's your 90 projection there? All right, clear it out and see what the projection was on the other one.
4-point difference.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about a 4-point difference. This is only a couple
median
percent off. So.
Yeah, and median projection, so it's like whatever, you know.
Yeah.
All right, so look, cash is going to be a little bit. I wouldn't say tough, but you're going to have to jam in probably one of these lower end guys in there, and as long as they can get you a couple points, you probably be safe. So let's move over to our tournament builds here. So you want to throw in Mooney and see how this build is?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So keep in mind, guys. Obviously, Mooney's questionable. We think he's going to play, but there's a chance he doesn't play.
Bobby Trees, Matt Stafford.
Okay.
And what do you? Let's stick with the Rams. Like, what do you think we should do? Go Cup or I think we go Higbee. To be honest with you,
Higbee or Van Jefferson Chevrolet. Let's see.
I think you can do Higbee and Van Jefferson.
Yeah. And 13,000 left. You almost see. It's like the pricing is pretty loose. As long as you can fit in one of these low price guys.
Let's do this then. We'll swap out Woods and Mooney.
So take out.
So look, guys, I
put Woods at captain.
Yeah, so like I choose my captain based on what I think I need to do. But if the salary is there, right, to put Robert Woods in, I'm not gonna.
I'd rather have Woods.
Yeah, I'm gonna play Robert Woods and throw in Mooney, 5,000. That's gonna leave. Jesus, so
you don't need. We don't even need Van Jefferson.
No, so.
So let's just try this. Let's just say that we we should get some Montgomery, right? So let's just try Montgomery in here. I don't want to fade him completely. It leaves us with 39.
That's fine.
And then, check this out. Is that crazy? Little handcuff action.
It's not.
Montgomery, Williams, and Mooney.
That's not crazy.
It's not crazy. I actually kind of like this lineup. And you're still leaving a little bit of money on the table, but you still have the upside to capture a lot of the scoring from Chicago. Now, you don't have Allen Robinson, so you have to go into the premise that Allen Robinson is going to get shut down by Ramsey. But in that case, who's gonna be the biggest benefactor? Mooney, probably Damie Williams, and you get a couple touchdowns in the goal line touchdowns from Montgomery. I like this one. I'm going to enter this one. All right, so
yeah, and you get a little different here, right? You don't have Andy Dalton in there, and all that stuff is going to help you be different, and that lets us play Robert Woods at captain and not have any issues despite his ownership projections.
And if we had Montgomery and Damian Williams in the same lineup, I wouldn't want to have Dalton.
Right.
I wouldn't want to have Dalton. So let's mix this up a little bit. All right, so I like this. I like the Woods, Mooney, and Stafford. Let's try to throw Kupp in here. Let's see what it would take to get Woods, Stafford, and Kupp in the same lineup. Now, can we get? Do we want to? We want to do a 4-2. I'm assuming we got to get a pass catcher on the other side for Chicago. Do we want to go Marquis Goodwin? Let's try Marquis Goodwin. Let's see what that gets us. So you got Mooney, you got Goodwin, you got two of the fastest guys on the field. 6,300 remaining. We probably want to get another Rams guy in. What does that leave us? That leaves us Sonny Michel. Doesn't really leave us a lot. We can't quite get to Rams defense either. So maybe not Goodwin. Any other options that you can think of here?
Okay, what about this? Swap out. Are you cool swapping out Woods and Kupp?
Yeah. Buy us an extra couple bucks. That's a good idea. So let's get Kupp. Let's go Woods and the flex.
Okay, now Rams defense.
Okay.
Where does that give us?
4,200. We can get to
Marquis Goodwin.
Yeah, we can get to Marquis Goodwin. You son of a bitch. Look at that. Hey.
Yeah, that's scary as hell. So this isn't a terrible build though, right? Like, I mean, if Darnell Mooney catches a touchdown and Marquis Goodwin catches 4 for 60 without a touchdown, you're still getting what you need to get the Rams there. And, if this is game scripted to the dink and dunk running game, and you're essentially, this is a Derrick Henry Titans defense stack, right? Except you're using Cooper Kupp, Matt Stafford, and Robert Woods
as your
Derrick
running backs.
Henry.
Yeah, as your running backs. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So like, I don't think this is terrible. And even if you want to come off Marquis Goodwin, you're probably not terrible to go Darnell Mooney and what do you have? Matt Gay. Or not Matt Gay, Cairo Santos, right? Yeah. Like, you don't need to spend everything, but if you take Mooney and the kicker, right? You could capture all the offensive points that you're the highest output that you're going to get from that. So I don't know, man. I kind of like this build too.
I mean, if you're talking 2 touchdowns, let's just say they're really going to score maybe 2 touchdowns and a couple field goals. This might be the way to go.
Well, so I mean, shit, we still have 1,000. Can we? I mean, we can put Woods back up into the captain spot. We can still. I mean, we might even be able to get Matt Stafford in there on this lineup.
Maybe. I don't think so. Let's put in Woods back at captain, and let's go back to Cup. Leaves us with 900. What can we get if we take Santos out? Let's see where we can, if there's any Ram or any Bear we can throw in there. No, pretty much that's pretty much it. Now you could go way low and go to Damian Williams. That is an option. So you got Mooney and Williams. This is a garbage time fourth quarter receptions probably is what would get you there.
I mean, if you're going to do that, I think you actually could get Matt Stafford in the captain spot.
You probably could. Yeah, you could. Let's try it. Matt Stafford. Let's get Robert Woods back in there. So yeah, you get $600 left over. That's pretty interesting. That's pretty interesting right there. All right. So let's try an Allen Robinson captain. We haven't really messed with Allen Robinson at all. I love Allen Robinson. If this was a normal team, if this wasn't the Bears this year, I'd be going heavy on Allen Robinson. But he kind of worries me considering he's obviously the best player on this team, and I think they're gonna shut him down.
My fiance just texted me right now. Do you know what this PayPal payment is to Underdog? I'm like, yes, that's me.
Yes,
I do know.
Well, I was actually confused because it said Underdog Films. I was like, what the hell is that? What movie did I buy for $25?
Damn it. By the way, that NBA best ball draft was pretty fun last night. It's not going to mean anything in a week, right? If anything,
half your team is going to be on the IR, yeah.
Well, bro, I have Cat and LeBron James, so even if they do play, they're going to get game managed out of my own lineup.
Yeah,
so.
Exactly. All right, so we got to go Stafford. Do you want to go Dalton on this one?
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's go Dalton. Now, let's get cheap here. Well, first off, we got to go either Cup or Woods. Let's go Cup on this particular lineup, and then we're gonna have to go value bin here. Let's go Damian Williams, or let's go Van Jefferson, and let's see what that gives us. 3,700. We could end up with a kicker. You can go Matt Gay. I think, you can go Matt Gay or Cairo Santos. What do you think? Cairo Santos, probably?
Yeah, I don't hate this. I think, honestly, I think this is probably a safer cash build than the other one that we did.
I think it is.
You got the higher floor with the Cairo Santos in there. You know that he's probably going to get 6. This is a pretty safe lineup overall. And it's going to be moderately chalky, but even then, I don't hate this lineup in general. The only thing that scares me again is Cairo Santos, but when your team is projected for 20 points, I mean, that implies 2 field goals, 2 extra points.
Yeah.
Right. Or 2 field goals, 2 extra points. So, I mean, that does mean that Cairo Santos could be projected as potentially the highest scorer on the Chicago Bears. So it is something to keep in mind. And I don't hate this at all.
Yeah. The fact that he's only projected for 6.7 fantasy points doesn't really add up to me when it comes to the line. It doesn't make sense. If they're basing, if whoever's doing these projections are basing it off of the Vegas line, he should be projected much higher.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Agreed. Absolutely.
All right. Any more lineups to build? You got any? Oh, you know what? I got one more. All right. Do you have any more?
Okay. No.
Okay.
No,
right.
bro.
I've got one more here. And by the way, this game is going to suck.
This game's worrying me.
I fully anticipate us losing all the money, but at that point, do whatever you want. Just have fun. Just have fun building some crazy lineups because we don't.
The NFL did this shit on purpose, bro. They knew that they were putting Matt Stafford on his shiny new team against a team he's played for the past 10 years.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. It totally.
Yeah.
All right, so I want to go with Tyler Higbee at captain.
Okay, yeah, I like this.
I really think he has a really good chance. So let's just optimize and see what it wants to do with it. Perriman for whatever reason.
Yeah, they got to get Perriman out of here.
Get him out of here. I'm gonna lower his projection. I don't want as much Perriman. I want some, just not this much. So
this is a dumb lineup.
Yeah, Stafford, Kupp, Woods, Montgomery, Perriman. I don't like that. It's a 4-2. Yeah, I don't like it. Let's put Stafford in, obviously. I think I'm going to have Stafford in most of my lineups, but I'm going to have some particular lineups that I'm going to build as if they're up big in the third and fourth quarter, and I might just fade him on some of those. So let's go with Allen Robinson here. Let's go with Robert Woods. That leaves us with 4,300. We haven't touched Cole Kmet yet. Are you interested in Cole Kmet?
Yeah, let's throw him in.
It leaves us with 3,500. So obviously we can go with Van Jefferson again, or we can go with Damian Williams, or we can go with the kicker. So we've got Cairo Santos at 3,200. So you can go kicker. That's a little bit safer. I personally would rather do, if it was me, I'd rather do this. Get Damian Williams in there. And what is that? That's a 3-3. But this is gonna be a low-owned lineup. Having Higbee at captain and then having Kmet in the flex, probably gonna be pretty low-owned. In addition to Damian Williams as well.
Right, and then you're fading Andy Dalton. So I don't hate it. I like it too. I think Andy Dalton and David Montgomery fading is going to be the way to get different.
So these are options for you guys, right? This is the day before. I'm not going to be building anything until after the first round of games, or maybe maybe at halftime of the second round of games on Sunday. I want to get better projections, more accurate projections, and more accurate ownership before I do much of anything. So Ellie, any final thoughts here when it comes to building? Now that we've built a couple lineups together, things to focus on. Can we do any 5-1s? I know we didn't build any 5-1s, but can you do 5-1s in this particular game? Are you okay with putting kickers for Chicago in this particular game?
Yeah, I'm not going to be running too many kickers. I guess I'm okay with a little bit of Cairo Santos, but that might be it. Overall, I just don't have high expectations for this game at all, man. And if the total was a little bit lower on the Chicago Bears side, I'd say 5-1 might be a viable stack. But given that they're still expected to put up 20 points, I think you do need to go 4-2.
Yeah, I hear you. Or 2-4 with Mooney at captain.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for joining us. We're going to be back for Monday Night Football. It's going to be Vegas versus the injured reserve Ravens, right? We're going to be back for that. Expect that on Sunday sometime or late Sunday. But thanks for watching, guys. We appreciate it. Hit us up in the comments or on our Discord. Thanks for sticking with us. We had a couple technical issues. We appreciate it. Ellie, talk to you later, man.
Have a good night, man.